Something special.
Hi friends, welcome back or welcome to Friends in High Places podcast. So today's episode is a extremely special episode, something I have been waiting to do for a hot minute, and that is have my mom on the pod. So please welcome my mama bear, Michelle, on the pod today. What's up, mama?
Hey, baby. Hi, friends. This is exciting.
This is so crazy. Mom has been a big part of my podcast journey, obviously. But she's been like my number one fan. She's been cheering me on since this was just like a conversation I was having, Tommy and I were having about starting. And yeah, I'm just really excited to have her on the pod because as much as I've talked about episode subjects and topics with her, she was a big guest that I want to have on here. So I think it's really cool that the day has finally come. And thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. But yeah, so I thought it'd be really cool to have, or to start off with like where you came from, kind of your life journey kind of thing, because I think it'd be a different way for the listeners to kind of get to know that part of my life. So yeah, if you just kind of want to explain where you're from and kind of growing up.
Yeah, for sure. So I was born in Saskatoon, and we lived there for just a short while, and then we moved actually to a small town in Saskatchewan, Payton. Right. That's okay. Where it was closer to where my dad's family lived, and my mom had my brother while we were out in Payton, and we lived there for a while. Moved back to Saskatoon, I think when I was in about grade 1, so mom could be closer to her family. That's where all of our family, were. Yeah. And I mean, we've all kind of migrated different places now, but the majority of our family is still in Saskatoon. So, and that's a huge support. And our family has always been so close. Yeah. So that was big for my mom. And for grandma.
Yeah.
And
Gma, shout out.
So we moved to Saskatoon, and yeah, that's where I grew up. I grew up close to all of my cousins. I have lots of them.
Yeah.
And went to school in different schools. Mom moved a few times, different houses and stuff, so we changed schools a few times, which is fine.
Yeah, because Saskatoon has like a whole bunch of high schools.
Yes.
Like so many high schools. I mean, typical city thing, but being from a small town, it's kind of crazy to know all the different like schools people would jump to. Like even Sammy, who's my cousin, as we were growing up, every time I went and visited her, it felt like she was going to a new school.
Yeah. And
right?
It was really different just raising kids in a small town opposed to knowing what a city was like
100%.
And the changes and stuff like that. I mean, you guys changed schools once. That was going from Olds to Innisfil, and then into your grades and stuff. So even I recognized how different that was. And I thought more stable. Personally, that's what I liked about that is that you guys then made some good connections and good friends, and everything was just consistent.
Yeah.
I didn't move like a lot of schools like Samantha. I know she did.
Yeah.
I didn't move a lot, but quite a bit. I mean, more than you guys did, or maybe average.
And
but it's good.
It's kind of like in the city life, like just comparing it to a small town life, like. Small towns, you'd go to parties when you were younger and it's like, oh, there's going to be some Red Deer kids there or old kids there or whatever, right? And like that was like the competition, I guess you could say. In Saskatoon, it was like, oh, they're in Bedford. Oh, we're in Fian. Like, oh, that's a rivalry, right?
Yeah.
Like so funny and so different, but similar too. So,
and I think your dad and I recognized that when you girls were growing up and you guys would say, oh, they're from Spruceview.
Yeah.
Or, oh,
Stettler.
Yeah, they're from Stettler. And be like, so what? Like, big deal.
Yeah.
But then we had side conversations, like, especially with you guys in dance and hockey. And so you see all those different groups and stuff. And then you guys getting into the ages where you're going to parties and you're socializing outside of the school and sporting events and stuff. And we were like, oh, so it's kind of like how it is in the city.
Yeah.
Only it's not neighborhoods or east side, west side.
Yeah.
It's like different towns all kind of have a different rivalry against each other. So it's like, okay, we get it.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense, but yeah, that's so funny.
And then it was really cool when you reconnected with some of your friends in Olds.
Yeah.
So, and you guys were old enough that, all that stuff was kind of set aside.
Yeah, it
and
wasn't
whatever.
really a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I remember going to an Olds party and just people I went to elementary school with were like, oh my God, Carissa Bell. And like, we're all talking. And it was just so funny because like, yeah, there wasn't that rivalry as much, especially when Alex started going to school in Olds and became friends with like Amy and stuff. Right. So it was, yeah, I was like, reconnecting with old friends that were now Alex's new friends, so it was kind of funny in that sense too, right? But yeah, I remember going to like Stettler parties or Spruce View parties and being like,
which was the town that you guys really disliked? Was it Spruce
View? Spruce View.
Yeah.
There was quite a rivalry with yeah, the girls didn't like us there. We didn't like those girls. They show up at our parties. We're like, oh yeah, you're here. You want to?
Yeah, exactly. Or like dating the boys and stuff. And oh my gosh, I remember that was such a huge thing.
It was dramatic. Oh, teenage life.
And that was the same with the high schools too.
Yes,
exactly. And then especially the one rush home in Saskatoon. For those of you that are from Saskatoon or know it, there's the 3 high schools on the one road.
Yeah.
So Bedford, then Fian, and then Royal. And so Bedford was kind of known as the, rougher school, almost like anybody kind of went there, but it was like mostly rougher kids.
Yeah.
And then Fian was known as like the athletic or sporty or preppy kids.
Preps, yeah.
Yeah. And then you go to Royal and it was like the tough guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The tough guys went there. And so there was a lot of guys that would meet along the road and on the streets and stuff to fight.
That's
oh my
so
gosh.
funny. Like, geez, what a wild thing to do is build 3 high schools on the same street. And I mean, obviously they didn't know that was going to be a thing, but like just looking.
Didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess wouldn't you?
Oh my gosh. Like you're dealing with adolescents, trying to make their way or be known kind of thing. And the buses that ran down that street, I mean, after school and before school, they had so many buses because there were so many kids. Obviously 3 big high schools. So these buses would be packed, and so you'd be packing into these buses sometimes with people you did not like. And,
right.
Oh yeah. So then the bus terminal.
There's some funny stories with that. We're not going to get into that, but there are some funny stories.
Lots of encounters and situations.
Yeah. Maybe some fights. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe a couple of those. Something like that. But
yeah, that'd be crazy. That'd be wild.
It was. Yeah. And then getting the buses all go to one terminal, and then you then get on the bus that takes you to your neighborhood. Like
a city bus instead of a school bus.
Yeah. They were city buses, but they were chartered for that time of the day. So after school, so they knew they would need more than one.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then they all went to the terminal where you all got off and then went onto your own bus. And so it's if you made it to your own bus peacefully, it was a good day.
Yeah. And then you're on a bus with the people from your hood, so then you're good.
Yeah, exactly. And the bus terminal was a place downtown where like kids would hang out, right? I wasn't one of those kids. Like I hung out there like a couple of times, like waiting for different buses or whatever, or to meet people and stuff like that. But I know that it was a really big hangout for a lot of different people.
Yeah, like teenagers
different circles.
And stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. People in the city hung out at the bus terminal. We hung out at Tim Hortons in Innisfil. It's so funny, like, talking about, like, your city life, or even with, like, Sammy, too. Like, when she would tell me about things that her and her friends did, I was like, man, small town life is so different, right? Like, it's just so crazy. But it's kind of what I always said, like, going to Saskatoon for Christmas or the summertime, whatever. That was, like, my big vacation, was like going to the city and living the city life and
going to big theater.
Yeah.
Some little tiny theater.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, I was happy where I grew up. I had a pretty good childhood. You know, I was part of that generation and crew that, you know, you knew where everybody was because all the bikes were in the front lawn.
Yeah.
You know, you stayed out until the sun went down, and then you knew you had
Street
to go
lights
home.
go on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, played hide and seek on the streets, you know, with all the neighbor kids and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
all of that was really good. It was a good upbringing, and yeah, I was always close to my family, so that was big.
Yeah, before technology and before the screens and all that kind of shit, right? Like you guys just hung outside 24/7 and yeah, had so much family. Like you could go to aunties and uncles, you can go to great grandmas and great papas, like hanging out with all your cousins, because that's kind of who your crew was, right? Like Auntie Renee, Auntie Angie, Auntie Marilyn.
Yeah.
Which, so they are technically my cousins, but in our family, our older cousins we call auntie because they are pretty much like mine and Bree's aunties.
Very much.
So yeah, so I call them auntie. But yeah, you chilled with your cousins all the time. Like that's a pretty cool thing because, you know, I feel like if we would have grown up in Saskatoon, like Sammy and I would have chilled all the time.
For sure.
Right? Like she would have been my best friend throughout all school, right? So like super cool.
And we all had like our own other friends and stuff because we didn't always go to the same school, especially in elementary school. We didn't. We went to separate schools. And Renee, she came over to my elementary school for, I can't remember if it was for her last 2 grades. So in Saskatchewan, we have elementary school, which is kindergarten to grade 8. Then we have a grade 8 grad. And then we go to high school for grade 9 to grade 12. Yeah. So no middle school. And so again, that was really weird for me. Yeah. Raising you guys with this middle school situation. But yeah, I think Auntie Renee came over for a couple, it was like 7 and 8, I think, in the elementary school. Okay. And then everyone went to Fian. And
the preppy school.
And I had a boyfriend in grade 8, and I decided that I would go to Bedford because he was going to Bedford. So he ran in those circles. Right. And
the
rough circles. And so I decided that I would go to Bedford, and I remember Auntie Angie and Auntie Renee. So I'm not meaning to offend anyone in Saskatoon and those that went to Bedford, but I'm sure they are aware that they were called Bedford bums. So they would tease me, oh, you're going to go and be a Bedford bum. You're going to come to Fian. And oh, yeah. And I stuck my ground and I went, and I only lasted a semester. And I was out of there. And then I went to Fian. So
ain't built for that life.
No, it wasn't my thing. But I tried to, you know, venture off and do something different.
Yeah. So then in grade 9, well, I guess the rest of grade 8. Or no, rest of grade 9. Sorry, high school 9. Starts in grade 9.
Yeah.
Okay, so the rest of grade 9, you're at Fian.
Yeah.
And then grade 10 as well.
Yeah.
And then somebody came along in grade 10. That was me. I came along in grade 10. Wild.
Yes. Very, very
fucking crazy.
And I might add that Bedford and Royal are not Catholic schools. And Fian was a Catholic school. Yeah. So here I am.
Yeah.
And I went to Catholic elementary schools all throughout. So
and our family is technically Catholic.
Yes.
Great Papa and Great Grandma were more religious than the younger generations.
Yeah, my Papa and Grandma were very religious to the point where, like, they went to church.
Like
they weren't preachy. And, you know, if you met them and you visited them even in their home, you wouldn't feel like, oh, this is a very religious home in person. And nothing like that. Did they swear? Yeah, they did.
Hell yeah, they did.
So, and like my papa, he went golfing with the priest. So like they were very close connected with the church. Yeah. And on a very personal level, as well as, you know, going to church and stuff. And I'll never forget, when Ange, Renee, and I went over to Papa and Grandma's, because we would just show up whenever, you know,
because that's how it went. That's how it is in our family. Honestly, you come and go from everybody's houses.
You don't even knock on the door, you just walk in. And we walk in and Papa's sitting at the table with the priest, and they're having a beer they're having a cold beer. Yep, they just went golfing, so it's time to have a cold beer. We're just like, the priest drinks beer?
Is that not a sin?
This is the same priest. We have to go and, go to our services once a month in elementary school.
Right.
So that's how that went.
Right.
So yeah, that was the same priest that, he was doing the services and stuff in elementary school. And we were just like, should we tell anybody?
Yeah.
Or is this like a secret?
Yeah.
But that's when you kind of learn in life that, you can have a faith, you can believe in something. You don't have to push it on anybody.
Yeah.
You don't have to wear it, out loud and really loud. But of course, if you want to. But I mean, everybody does the same things as everybody else.
100%.
Just controlled and, on a good level. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like that's kind of like just how our family is. And like, again, great Papa and Grandma never pushed the religion. Like I got baptized.
Yep.
You did too
In the
when
hospital.
you were.
Yep.
Yeah. Like the majority of our family is baptized, but we weren't expected to go to church. We weren't expected to just, live the Catholic way. If we chose that was our faith, awesome. If we chose something else was our faith, that was awesome too. Like our family isn't like that. And even great Papa and Grandma were. And I think that's like the cool thing about all of us, and I think most people is, if you just let everyone have their own faith, believe in what they believe in, that's good, not judging people for not being religious or for believing in spirituality instead of a religion.
And as long as you're living a good life, be a good person.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, whatever you believe in and whatever what's getting you through and what's helping you along in life and all of those kind of things, as long as you're being a good person, that's what counts. I mean, we know that there are other, and they're not religions, they are other beliefs that some people take and they are not good. They put them in the other direction and they do bad things and say that it's a belief. So outside of that, we just have to, that's the way I look at it. If you're being a good person and you are acting in good faith and you are contributing to society, you're living a good life.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what you always said to Brie and I, like, we don't have to go to church to believe in God.
Right.
You don't have to go to church to go to heaven or go to the afterlife kind of thing. You just need to be a good person.
Yeah, that's right.
And treat others how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
And
and whatever you believe is on the other side of all of that, just be the best you in this life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Best version of yourself.
Yeah. So sorry, tangent.
Yeah, went on a little
religion tangent. Wow. Saying that I went to a Catholic high school, and why I brought that up was the fact that yes, I ended up becoming pregnant, and so that was really tough in a Catholic school.
No doubt.
I was pregnant, in a class. We had to take Christian ethics. That was like a core class every year. Okay. So, and I was in a Christian ethics class. Teacher that I had, he was a great teacher. I would never say he didn't do his job and do it well. And, he had a strong belief. So obviously Christian ethics teachers would have a very strong belief. And so he wasn't impressed.
Yeah.
And you could tell he kind of struggled with it. But he never said anything to me. He never made me feel different, even though I knew he wasn't impressed. Yeah. That's okay. I still went to class. I still showed up. I still did my thing. And, yeah. And they, they didn't ask me to leave the school. I don't even know if that's a thing. But
that'd be really fucked up.
And like Mount Royal, so up the street, they were so opposite. They actually had a daycare in their high school. Yeah, like in my time, a daycare in the high school.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we would see, and so I seen that the first couple of years going to school, on the buses, like I said, they were packed with all the different high schools. So the first drop off was Bedford, then Fian, then Royal. So we would see young teen moms.
Crazy.
Yeah, with kids, but and they went to Mount Royal.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, smart, I guess.
Well, I guess accept what's going on.
Exactly.
And help.
Yeah, exactly. Like, not trying to promote teen pregnancy, but also there's the side of it that it happens. So in order to encourage these young moms to keep going to school and getting their education, give them free childcare.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it was free.
Yeah, I have no idea about that.
But
for sure.
I mean, I kind of only assume
but an
so.
option, at least.
And the option. Exactly. So so you and Dad met at Fian.
Yep.
And you guys just kind of like ran in the same circle, or?
Yeah. So he knew Auntie Angie and Auntie Renee. Yeah. Before. And yeah, he had his own circle of friends, and I came along, and I was trying to think, because you had asked me a few days ago, we were talking about it, and we must have had a class together, and that's how we maybe started talking and stuff. And so so you just kind of like start meeting people, and especially in that environment, I was comfortable, and I already knew a lot of people because Angie and Renee were already there, and they knew a lot of people, and I had met them like outside of school. So so it was a very comfortable and welcoming atmosphere for me to go there. It wasn't a hard change at all. If anything, it was the opposite.
That's good. So when you got pregnant with me, obviously you had to tell Grandma. Can't really keep that a secret from your mom.
No.
So how did you do that? And what were your feelings like? Like, what was going through your head? Like, I mean, obviously scared, but like, just to give a little bit of a insight.
So yeah, like scared is the first emotion I'm gonna go to. Not only scared to tell Grandma, but scared for myself. Like,
this is reality.
This is what's going on right now. Like, what am I going to do? And I might have only been, and actually, I was 15. Yeah. So I may have only been 15, but I was more than aware of my options. I was more of aware than, what could happen or anyway. But, so I decided to tell Grandma in a letter. And you know what? I didn't even take a home pregnancy test.
Oh.
I didn't go to the doctor and get a test or anything.
Oh.
I just knew. Like, I knew that I was. Yeah. And I guess I say that, but I also like said to Grandma in the letter, like, I'm pretty sure. Like, all the signs are there, and pretty sure I am, and don't be mad, and I'm sorry, and you say all those things, and I left it for her, and then I went to school, and so when I came home and had to face the music, I mean, Grandma was like, she was, I don't want to say mad. She was probably more like disappointed, right? Like, what are you going to do? Like, you're too young. You're too young to do this. You have your whole life, all those things that moms are going to say, of course, right? Like, but she said, we're going to book a test though. Like, let's make sure, let's be sure kind of thing. So I think that was Grandma's kind of like,
maybe it's not.
A couple of nights of like, okay, maybe not, because I think it was a couple days I had to wait, or a day and a half or something. But she picked me up from school anyway on in the morning after one of my classes, and then we went to the doctor, took the test, it was positive, and she dropped me off. And the car ride, I believe, was very quiet. And she's just said, we'll talk more when we get home tonight, right? Like, go to school and finish the day kind of thing. And so I went to school that afternoon, and I remember telling Angie and Renee in the bathroom, and there's like, what? Like, oh my gosh, and so that was like, that was big news for me to be able to get off my chest, because I had holding that in a couple of days after telling Grandma, and then having to wait and get this test done to make sure and stuff. So yeah, I think then the next hard step was telling Grandma Belle.
100%. So did you tell Dad before you told Grandma?
Oh yeah, like your dad knew like the whole time. Like I kept saying like I think I'm pregnant.
Okay,
Like,
I
I'm
kind of
pretty
assumed
sure.
so.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then it was telling Grandma Belle, and my Grandma Belle is a tough cookie, that's for sure. So she's a little bit more, I don't know if intimidating is the right word, but it's just, I mean, you have to go and tell her, so I'm pregnant with your son's child, and we're 15 years old.
Yeah, no, I was leaving that to your dad.
Yeah, 100%. That was his job to do. Yeah. So, and then Grandma just kind of said to you, like, you know, if you're keeping this baby, then when it's born, like, I'm not taking care of it.
Yes.
Like, you're taking care of it.
Yes, and you know, honestly, and I say this all the time, like, that was probably what made me the mom I turned out to be.
100%.
Grandma did not let me flake out on that.
100%.
Like, she was like, you need to make sure you're making this decision because it's going to be your decision and your responsibility. And she stuck to that. Like, you know, we just said, like, Grandma Belle, like, she's like, you know, hardball and straight edge and everything. And but she was supportive, you know, but like, that's Grandma too. Grandma's a softie, and she was supportive, but she stuck to her guns, and
she was just being a mom.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. She just said, like, this is your responsibility. And even made like a schedule. Like, I was allowed to go out once a week. I was allowed one night out a week. and you know, and I was up, you know, getting you ready, getting myself ready for school. She was great because, you know, she either dropped you off at daycare and then me at school, or I went to school on my own and she would take you to daycare.
Yeah.
I couldn't drive. I didn't have a driver's license. So, so she was great that way. You know, it could have been way tougher. She could have made it really difficult and said, you know, get on the bus, you know, take your daughter to daycare and then get yourself to school and stuff. So yeah. Yep. She definitely laid everything out for me to make the decision. But she also said, of course we're here. Of course. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Because Grandma would never not be involved because she's a grandma. You know, Grandma is, as soon as she turned to Grandma, she's like eating that shit up. Like, she loves being a grandma, right?
And that's just not our family.
And
like,
exactly.
Our family just does not turn its back on their family. You know, even when things get really rough and tough, and even if people within our family maybe don't talk for a while, like if anything ever happened, we know we would be there for any one of those people.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like, just like we said at the beginning of this conversation, like, you can walk into anybody's home, great Papa and Grandma's, any auntie and uncles, any cousin's house, like, that's not weird in our family to just show up and walk in.
Yeah, exactly. And we have a lot of distance between some of our family members, like close family members, like Auntie Marie, so my mom's sister.
Yeah.
You know, they lived in Calgary. They moved away from Saskatoon to Calgary when we were really young, but they always came back to visit. We would go there in the summertime so we could hang out with Marilyn. We always stayed connected that way. And even if, you know, something happened and we couldn't see each other for a year or whatever, there was never hurt feelings. Nobody was ever mad. No one ever, you know, like, you know, well, you need to come here or whatever, right? Whoever could make it down, made it down.
Yeah, still to this day, like, we may not see each other even for a few years.
Yeah.
And if there is a family celebration, whether it's a loss, a marriage, a baby, whatever, once we're all back together, it's like we haven't been apart.
Yeah, that's right.
At
exactly.
all. Like, what? But there's a little bit of, oh my gosh, look how big you are.
Yeah, or their kids. Look how big your kids have gotten.
Exactly.
Like, it's crazy.
Exactly. But it's never. Yeah, we never turn our backs on each other, and that's just like, you know, what I've said in other episodes. Like, I'm very family orientated, like that, and that's where it comes from. It's just how I grew up, right? And from when I was even just a little peanut in my mom's tummy.
The support started right there.
Yeah, exactly. Did you ever bring me to school?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Everybody wanted to meet you and see baby. A lot of the teachers did. what was really funny was, I mean, I was showing. I mean, I'm not a big person. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not tall, right,
Yeah.
or anything. And so when I was even just starting to show, I didn't hide it. I wore cute little outfits and stuff. But anyway, we were in a home economics class. Your dad, me, a couple of our friends, and we would be baking and cooking meals and stuff, and everybody would be joking around like, oh, give Michelle your extras, she's eating for two, and all that kind of stuff. And the teacher, I don't know if she just like didn't listen to us, or she just didn't really pay attention to what we were saying within our circles and stuff, but I ended up having you early. And in June, so before the school year had ended, so I couldn't write my finals, and so your dad had to go and tell all the my teachers, like, she had Krista early and she's still in the hospital, and the home ec teacher was like, what? She was pregnant? When your dad told me that, I was like, what? She didn't know?
That's probably like, yeah. Wait, what? You didn't realize? Like,
yeah, it was pretty funny. I think it shocked us all that she did not know that.
oh my
And
God.
I mean, considering you'd think teachers talk, and there wasn't a lot of us pregnant walking around.
100%. Again, Catholic school.
So that was kind of funny. But yeah, no, I brought you to school a couple of times. And one teacher in specifically Lisa, she was really close to your dad. She was she taught like next level kind of courses, psychologies and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
But it was also classes that kids that needed a little extra attention because they couldn't keep their butts in school and just things like that. So it was kind of a class for them to go and kind of like unwind and just chill out instead of having so many classes, like core classes in a row. So that's
where
what
the
she
smoker
did.
corner stoner kids went.
And so she did like counseling / like extra teaching of like something interesting that they could. And I guess what she was teaching them basically is why you feel the way you do,
right?
Why you think and why you can't kind of like
why school just isn't important to you,
or why exactly. So so she was really close to us in that sense, because obviously she was like, this is pretty big, you guys, and
exactly,
this is huge and a big responsibility. So I think she probably helped your dad out a bit on that side of things, to
for sure
deal with it and the emotions and the feelings and all those kind of things that come along with it. So but I brought you a couple of times when you were fresh, and then probably one other time after. A little bit distracting, so obviously not too much.
Teachers are like, okay,
exactly.
There's a crying baby in
Catholic school.
So I was premature. You
were supposed to be born on August 12th or 13th.
Oh, I thought it was September.
Oh, September. Sorry.
Okay.
You came home on August 12th or 13th. Yes, sorry, September. 1 month earlier than your due date, you got to come home. And you were born on June 22nd, so very early.
Very
27
early.
weeks.
So crazy. And then I had to stay in the hospital for a month and a half. I guess that would have been. And you stayed at the hospital with me for the first bit, right? Or how did it work again?
How many days did I stay in the hospital? Like nowadays, they send you home like next day.
Right.
I think I spent, I want to say 3, maybe 4 nights in the hospital after you were born, probably because of your situation and maybe because I was young. But then I had to go home, and that was really hard for me. And school was done, right? So I missed my finals. So I had the whole summer, which was really great. Like, honestly, timing couldn't have been better. Considering all of that. But I mean, here comes into play the this is your responsibility again, right?
Yeah.
Like grandma still had to work. Things still had to get done. And I decided that I would be there every day.
Yeah.
So I got up in the morning, I took a shower, I got on a bus, and I went that long bus ride every day to the hospital, and I hung around the hospital every day. They were long, long days. And your dad, he was helping Papa Bell with building a fence. And so he would come, when he could. And a lot of times, I mean, he spent a lot of time in the hospital. We did some really crazy things in that hospital, but again, we were kids and probably shouldn't have been there unsupervised. Good grief. Ate a lot of hospital food from the cafeteria, and the nurses really, they were amazing in that ICU. They were so amazing with you and with us, and the understanding and no judging. Like I never felt judged by any of the nurses, and I mean they rotate through a lot of nurses. And so not only was I there every day and going in and out to see you, I also started to pump milk because they said that was like the best thing for you right now, right? Obviously, and it always is. So that was an experience in itself.
Yeah.
But when I would go home at night and then I would have supper, I knew that your bath time was at like, I'm going to say like 7:30 kind of thing. So I'd always wait until about 8, like a little bit after, and I would call there. I had the direct line, and they always knew I was calling. So because then I knew when you got your bath, you got weighed.
Yeah.
And you weren't allowed to come home until you weighed 5 pounds or heavier. So I always called to find out how much you weighed.
That's really cool. Yeah, okay, so we're in a very emotional family. And sometimes when we get talking about memories and stuff, we get a little teary-eyed, or, if you get an ottoman for Christmas, we cry.
Because we really wanted that ottoman.
Yeah.
It's our favorite.
But that's really awesome. And
and so I had a piece of paper, so I wrote down the
track.
date. I wrote down your weight, and I had that actually like hanging beside my bed. So then I knew you were closer to coming home. You were closer to coming home and stuff. So
and you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys couldn't hold me.
No.
Until how, because I know when you guys were able to hold me, you had to be completely gowned.
We had to be completely gowned and everything every time we went in that ICU.
Oh, okay.
So there were babies, lots of babies in there. And you were, for the majority of the babies, you're in incubators. So you went into an incubator because that is basically taking the place of a womb. Right? So it's sterile. You're away from anything in the air. You're getting fresh oxygen. You're staying warm.
Still bacon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're still bacon in there. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, we'd have to wash up and gown up. And masks. Had to put our hands through these little arm things.
Yeah. I remember seeing the home video.
Yeah,
of it. Yeah.
Right. And so the most we were able to touch you or hold you is when you were strong enough, we got to put our head under your head just to cradle you a little bit, or hold your little hand,
feel like you were,
just give you some human contact. And they said that's really good to do. That's what you should be doing. And talk to you and stuff. And they actually had this, they called it a fortifier, and it's something that they added to the milk that helps babies grow and gain weight and stuff, kind of what's that stuff that you drink?
Stuff to try and gain weight.
Yeah,
that sucks.
Right? So it's that, but it's it's medical grade, and something they were doing, and they asked permission, to use it with you and my milk, and I was like, yeah, for sure. So, we weren't allowed to hold you or anything for the longest time, and I probably have it on that sheet, and I probably have it in your baby books. like the day we got to hold you and like take you out of the incubator and stuff. You've watched the videos though, and like how crazy it is, like how tiny you are, and like just so underbaked.
Yeah.
And then the videos go on and go on, and all of a sudden, boom, you're like a baby.
Yeah, exactly. So crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure in our photo albums that we had, there was a picture of you and Dad.
Yes.
I don't know if that was the first time, but when you could hold me, because you guys were all gowned up and I was in your arms.
I think at a certain point in the ICU, we didn't have to wear masks, but we always had to wear a gown. The picture you might be thinking about, if I was sitting in a rocking chair and your dad was kind of standing behind me. So that's when you had RSV and pneumonia, and you went into the hospital.
Went back.
And you had to go into that isolation room and stuff. It was so close to Christmas.
So I got out of the hospital.
Yeah.
And then shortly after had to return back because I got sick.
Yeah, it was just before Christmas. And that's like a really common thing for preemie babies is to get RSV, which is a respiratory virus.
Yeah.
Just because when you were born, you were so strong and they were like so impressed with your development. And with most preemies, it's the lungs that they're most concerned about, the development and being able to breathe on your own. But you were a little fighter. Like they said, like right from the get-go, you were trying to breathe on your own. So like you were really good that way. You just needed the extra oxygen. It was just to keep your oxygen level safe at all times, right?
Yeah.
It's a common thing for preemies to get that, but it was scary. You did really well with it. It was really hard to leave you there, that's for sure, being so tiny and so tiny but yet so aware, because you'd already been at home and you knew grandma and you knew me and you knew your dad and you knew home, and so to go backwards.
Taking me back to the hospital is probably your number one nightmare, because you're like, I just had to leave her there for as soon as I was born, for months, right? Like,
and it was
not
like,
leave me, you were there, but you know what I mean.
And like for the first year for sure, it might have been 2, I can't say for certain, but the first year for sure, that's where you went for all of your monthly checkups, was back to the university hospital. So I mean, no stranger to that place, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Just so crazy, like being a teenager, having a baby, that's already a crazy experience, but having a preemie and watching this little peanut fight for its life and like just finish developing and stuff, right? Like so nuts. And just I can't even imagine being a teenager and that happening. Like how many times I thought about it when I was 15, 16, 17. I can't even tell you how many times I thought like, holy shit, like mom went through all that at this age, or by the time she was 17 she had a 1.5-year-old, like, you know what I mean? And like then continuing on in my life as I'm in my early 20s thinking about, oh my gosh, she had a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, like whatever, you know what I mean? Like just so crazy, like so nuts. And so after I was born, 3 years later, then little B came.
And I was 19.
Yeah, you and Dad
still
were
in
19.
my teens. Good grief.
So then you had 2 babies. I mean, I wasn't a baby, but toddler. And you and Dad moved to Alberta, not right away, but Bree was 3 and I was 6.
Yep.
And you moved to Alberta and away from grandma and papa and everybody. So like, what was that like? Because you guys were what, 21, 22?
Yeah, in our early 20s.
Yeah.
It was really scary, but it was, I don't want to say easy because that makes it sound like,
no,
but it was an easy decision, I guess, because the opportunity came up for your dad. I was still, I was working, but very part-time, and it was the right time, and we knew that. So it was just scary, and it was just really sad to leave my mom.
Yeah.
That was really, really tough for me.
So when you guys, like, when you and Dad would be, like, talking about your future after having me, and then whatever, let's say when you were pregnant with Brie, or even after having Brie, did you guys make a decision that maybe you didn't want to raise us in the city, or was it just, like, it just happened the way it happened? Like, Dad got the opportunity and you guys were like, okay, we're going to Alberta.
Yeah, it was totally opportunity.
So to begin, like, at the beginning of our lives, full intention of staying in Saskatoon, raising us in Saskatoon, everything like that.
You know, we were so young. I don't think we knew different. You didn't even think outside of the city.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
never,
exactly.
ever. So it was never a discussion in our lives to move anywhere else. And so then when that opportunity did come up, you know, it was like, holy crap, like, we're going to go to, like, a different province, you know? And it was a good thing because Auntie Marie and Marilyn
Calgary.
and Morgan, they all lived in Calgary at the time. So, you know, I was familiar with Alberta in the sense that we've gone to Calgary.
The travel.
Yeah, and I knew how far it was from Olds. That's where we were headed. But yeah, no, we never gave that any kind of thought or consideration.
It happened. Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. I've never asked you that, and I was thinking about it the other day when we were talking, like, oh, I wonder if, like, they did have intentions on getting out of the city at some point, or if we were just going to stay in the city and it just happened because Dad got the job opportunity. If there was anything you could say to your younger self when you found out you were pregnant, if you could go back and tell that girl who was writing the letter to Grandma, who was like, pretty sure I'm pregnant, this is happening, what's something you think you would say? I'm putting you on the spot.
You are and you're not. I'm going to say this because I was so fortunate. It would be hard for me to tell my younger self anything outside of the fact that it's going to be good. It's going to work out. It's going to be hard. It's going to be the toughest probably path you could have chosen to take because you have a huge responsibility coming ahead of you, you know. But yeah, I think that anyone who has maybe just found out, or they think they are, or they've made the decision already, you know, that they're going to be a mom, and you're young, you're still in school, you're still living with your parents, you just need to make sure, you know, you're making that decision for yourself, that you're preparing yourself for a journey that's going to have its ups and its downs. There's no way around that. It's going to be hard, and then you're going to have some great times, and then you're going to have some bad times, and you're going to have some hard times. But you really just have to make sure that you're ready to be involved, and you have to let go of things that you really want right now. Those things can come, and they will. Opportunity will come, and stay in school, you know, make that your first priority to make that work. You know, however that works, whether your school has a daycare or you have support outside, like from your family, or you just, you know, get them into a daycare of some kind, but stay in school and get that education, because that's going to open so many doors for you, and it's going to help you through, you know, the hard times that are going to come, right? It's going to be a struggle. It's not going to be easy. And even that process is hard. That's something else you have to consider when you're thinking about doing this. If you don't like getting up in the morning now, you know, it's like you're getting up in the morning anyway, regardless. So you might as well be going to school, but you're not just getting yourself ready. You're getting a baby ready, and you're feeding a baby, and you're packing a baby bag, and, you know, all those things. Like, there's so much, but it can work out. You just have to make sure that's what you want. And we've talked about this many of times, and, you know, you've had, you know, while you were growing up, I mean, you said that you thought about where I was when I was your age, like every time you're 15 or when you were 16, and you thought about where I was and what I was doing. I thought that a million times when my girls were growing up. And it's something that I didn't want them to choose. So I'm not like, yeah, go ahead and do that. It will work out. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's hard, but it will happen and whatever. Because living your young life to its fullest is exciting and fun. And I got to see you guys do that, which was great for me. Like, even though they were a little shit sometimes and, like bad and whatever. Kidding, they were pretty good. But
sometimes I tested the line quite a bit.
But, those were the kind of things that, I even think your dad and I had said it a few times, like, you kind of live vicariously through you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was great to see. But so I am not a pro teen pregnancy, but everyone has to make their own decisions. Everybody has to make their own plan in life, and know you have choices, and know that it's your body, it's your choice, it will be your responsibility. So I think I probably would remind myself that.
Yeah.
Make sure I told myself and say, make sure you know that. I mean, my mom was great to tell me that and say, this is the way it's going to be.
Right.
So I was thankful for that. I should have already known that.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's just, I don't know. But, and like, shit happens,
Yeah.
like, it's crazy. And teen pregnancy, like, is a big thing. It, like, not saying every other teenager is pregnant, but like, it still happens. It is, accidents happen, unfortunately, and it's not that we're promoting teen pregnancy, but like Mom said, like, it's your body, it's your choice. If you decide to, whatever route you decide to go, you just need to think about what is best for you, what responsibilities you're ready for, because those are your selfish years, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
your teenage years are your most selfish years. And you can live as wild and free as you want to. You can, there's no responsibility. Your parents are still taking care of you. The most you have is a job at Subway or a job at Co-op or whatever, right? Like, making side cash just to go and like hang out with friends or whatever. You don't have rent. You don't have bills. I mean, well, I had a cell phone bill, but that's different, right? That's teaching responsibility. But, some teenagers don't even have that, right? They have free cell phone, free Wi-Fi, all the things. And if you end up getting pregnant as a teenager, then you are becoming an adult very quickly.
And that's just it too, right? Like, you are going to be the responsibility, or sorry, you will have a responsibility, I should say, for raising a child, and the best you can. No one's perfect. Parents are not perfect.
No, it's not an easy thing.
That's right. And no one can do it the same way,
right,
or the exact perfect way. There's going to be different bumps and roadblocks that you hit that maybe you didn't think of or you didn't know were going to happen. So that's it. Like, you have to recognize that you're not the kid anymore.
Yeah.
You're the adult now.
Yeah.
No matter what your age is, now you are the adult. Can you do that? Can you handle that? Are you ready for that? Do you want that?
Exactly. And also, not only that, but the person that you're with, the person that you're having the baby with, you are starting this like family with, you have to get ready to have a kid and go through like those relationship ups and downs. Like, being a teenager in a relationship, half the time people are like, puppy love, like heartbreak, and you feel so sad when you break up with your teenage boyfriend, but fuck, 10 years later, it was like, oh yeah, that was just like a fun little relationship I was in. Once you're an adult,
silly.
Yeah, you really learn what being in a relationship is like, but throw a baby in there, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, so we're parents now. Okay, so we're like a family now. Okay, so we are like adults now. And I couldn't imagine, just with my own like high school relationships, thinking about having a baby and making sure that you're kind of keeping those separate. You know what I mean? In a sense, like, just whatever, like you and dad get into a fight, it's not like Brie and I were surrounded by screaming and yelling parents all the time. And, but like thinking about the fights I'd get in with my boyfriends when I was a teenager, it was dramatic. It was like a lot, right? So being mature enough to be able to know how to separate those two, and sure, you guys are fucking wanting to rip each other's heads off, but it's, okay, well, we need to take care of these kids, take care of the kids, put them to sleep. Okay, well, now we're going to have the conversation. Okay, now we're going to have this fight or whatever, right? But like, that also adds on to it, the responsibility of being able to be mature enough to put those teenage feelings and immatureness aside, because you're still maturing, you're still growing, you're still learning how to communicate in a relationship, you're still learning how to be together. Like, teenagers don't live with their significant others, you live it with your family. But you and dad moved in together at like 17, 18?
Yeah, 17. I wasn't at home for very long.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think that you were living with what was like your high school boyfriend, your baby daddy, at 17 years old.
Well, and that's exactly a really good point to bring up. When you're considering that, when you're in the situation where this is something that you're considering or has become a decision you need to make, maybe is a better way of saying that.
Right.
You have to be aware of the environment you would be bringing a child into. Like, is this person that you're with a good person? Is this a person you want to be connected to, almost for the rest of your life?
100%.
At least minimum 18 years. Yeah.
But
right?
really, at the end of the day, the rest of your life.
Right. Because your child will always have that connection with them in most cases. And so, whether it's the environment that they live in and the family that they come from, or the way they live, or their lifestyle, or their behavior, or anything like that, that should be a really huge thing to consider as well. And I mean, if you are someone who is like, doesn't matter if I have to raise the baby on my own and I don't need him in there, well, that's great. But if he wants to be a part of that baby's life, I mean, unless there is like legal reason he can't be, he can be.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a really huge thing. And you're right, whether you guys stay together or not, I don't think is the end all and be all. Like, that is not going to make or break you as a parent. But you have to be mature enough to know how to handle that then.
100%.
You can't not let someone see their grandbaby or their child, their cousin, their niece, however, the family dynamic works.
Can't use your child as a pawn.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
And I think that, here's me talking about Teen Mom again, but honestly, watching Teen Mom has really shown me a lot of those couples had to learn that a very hard way. And that's just where the conversation we were just having comes into place with like maturity and being a teenager and being in a relationship as a teenager, but having a kid and it not working out. And then you want to be spiteful, you want to be petty, you want to be, that's how a teenager is. Yeah. Right? Like,
or make it hard, or like talk poorly about the other person around your child. I mean, it's very unfortunate as an adult and having a lot of friends that have kids and, relationships don't work out, marriages don't work out. I've seen a lot, unfortunately, things like that happen. And it breaks my heart because like, unless there is like very good reason. Right. Yeah. So of course, every situation's different.
100%.
Yeah. But I mean, just because you can't get along with that person, it doesn't take away their rights and their responsibility to continue being the parent, grandparent, the aunt, to that little human you brought into the world.
And I do think that is something that, I mean, probably doesn't get talked about a lot when it comes to, teen pregnancy, and because it is a lot of the kind of conversation of like, okay, well, the responsibility of the baby and growing up, like being an adult and baby, but also you got to think about the two teenagers that created this baby.
Yeah.
Right? And their relationship and their maturity and their mental headspace of taking on the responsibility and also being responsible enough to know that our teenage bullshit fight over our relationship needs to be parted from our baby, from our family dynamic, and your baby can't be around that energy that like sometimes can be a little bit toxic, like a fighting situation, right? Like,
yeah. And again, no one's perfect. I'm
No.
never going to say you should never fight, and there's
everybody
never going to
fights.
be arguments.
100%.
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest thing about it. Like that's what I think too would, like, now, especially as an adult, thinking about my relationships as teenagers, being like, whoa, like the fights that we would get into, the drama I would start, the shit I would say, the like whatever, get into a fight with your boyfriend, you go to a party and you get a little twisted and it's like, oh, fuck you, you're an asshole, blah, blah, blah. Right? Like you can't,
Dissing them. And,
you can't pull that shit when you're parents and you're...
Well, you shouldn't.
No, you shouldn't, exactly. I shouldn't say you can't, because you could, but you shouldn't. And if you're going to, then you got to make sure the baby's at grandma's that night or something, that you're deciding to hash it out or whatever, right? And I think that's another big part of the entire decision of becoming a teen parent and struggles of being a teen parent. And
can you be the best mom, parent, the best you for that child, create the best environment possible for that child, healthiest, exactly. So it's going to end up putting a lot of your stuff on a back burner.
Are you ready to like mature 10 years beyond your years?
Yeah, exactly.
Or beyond how old you are, because that's kind of what you have to do. And like, you know, I joke about it, but it's very true. Like, you and Dad acted like 40 years old in your 20s. Like, being teenagers. Like, my parents, like Tommy, when she first met, my mom and dad was like, whoa, your parents are young. And I knew my parents were young. It wasn't a secret that my parents had me at a young age. Like, we talked about it all the time throughout our life. Like, as soon as I understood that, I knew it. But I never looked at my parents as young. They didn't seem young. They were the adult figure in my life. They were my role models. They were my parents. So, yeah, they're just my parents. Like, I remember looking at Tom being like, oh, yeah, well, they were young when they had me, but they're still parents. They still
they're
act.
Adults.
Yeah, they're still strict. They still act like parents. And that's just the funniest thing, is that, you know, even though they were 20 something, they were acting like they were 40 something. Like, I'm 28 years old right now. I can't even imagine having a teenager right now. Like, what, a 15-year-old? 14-year-old?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And not only that, plus a preteen. Like,
and honestly, from, you know, the minute you were born to now, it never gets easy. Like, you never are not wearing that parent hat.
100%.
Right? So,
yeah, I call
we
Mom,
joke and say,
Mom.
oh, yeah, someone, you'll have to be in their life for 18 years. But, and then we said, or, you know, but you're always a parent, and you always have those responsibilities, even when you're not having the hard responsibility of like, oh, I have to make sure you're fed today.
Exactly.
You know, but you have to make sure they're doing okay, that everything's good in their world and in their life. And it's always a thing.
You're a forever role model.
Yep.
You're a forever advice giver. You're a forever support system. And yeah, if I'm not feeling good, I call you and I'm like, Mom, I don't feel good. This is what I'm feeling. Can you help me?
What's the matter with me?
Yeah, I know you're over there in Alberta, but like something's wrong.
Well, and even one time, Bree called me.
Yeah.
And she had an interview.
Yeah.
She got the job. But then she was offered this other job that she wanted to take instead. She knew some people that already worked at the restaurant and stuff. And I was at work, and she called me and she's just like, I need your advice. Like, how do I turn down the job,
Yeah.
you know, without making them mad? And like, what kind of things do you say when you turn down a job that, you know, I went for an interview and I was all stoked for it and everything. So there's so many different
Yeah, and then you're like,
levels.
oh shit, I gotta think about this.
Here, let me see. How do people turn us down when they don't want our opportunity?
Yeah.
But yeah, like so many things. Mind you, it kind of gets, it's fun as when you guys are adults. Like things
like,
get really, really fun.
and that's kind of the cool thing because, okay, so now we're fast forwarding to today and the present. So we kind of talked about being 20 something and having a teenager and kind of those difficult times and, you know, having to act older or whatever. So now we're adults and now we are like not at the same stage of life together, but you know, you and Desmond are getting married this year. You and Desmond bought a home together, are flipping a home together. You and Desmond started dating right before Cole and I started dating. You know, like it's really crazy that
we kind of went through some life events and emotions and changes at the same time. Yeah. It was really cool.
Yeah, like it's really crazy. And you know, like we can relate so much to each other in that sense. And it's just like, you know, like you're my best friend now. Like, of course, you're still my mom. And of course, it's still, you can be motherly. Sometimes I'm like, okay, mom, yeah, I know. But it's also, also like, you're my best friend. You're my first call. You're somebody I can talk to about literally anything about. And we're also just going through like these same life things together. Like, I don't know how else to put it, but it's just like, it's really crazy how now that you are in your 40s, Brie and I are in our late 20s. Weird.
Right? Like it's so weird.
You can live your selfish life now, you know? You can, and not that you're a selfish person.
No.
But you're living just the life you want to live now that you don't have to worry about babies and worry about us. I mean, of course you're always going to wonder if we're doing good and miss us and everything like that, of course, because that's still the mama bear in you. But, you know, you get to do these amazing things now and you're still fucking young.
Yeah, and I think about that a lot. And like I even, you know, hear that a lot from my friends because their kids are either just leaving the nest now, and some are even have younger kids like that are, you know, they're not leaving the nest. Yeah, I think about that a lot. But I do say, and because it's the honest truth, I live a comfortable life and really stress-free and really happy and so engaged with you and Brie and your lives and everything. But you guys made that easy for me because you guys grew up to be amazing young women with ambition and with drive. You finish school, you make good choices in your life, and even, you know, even choices that you made that were lessons, you guys learned from your lessons, right? I'm not seeing repetitive mistakes. And, you know, you guys aren't one of those types of people that are in a room banging your head against a wall and like, why can't I figure this out? Or why am I here again? So you guys just turned out like so amazing that it makes that easy for me. Like I can honestly enjoy these times, and I have already for years. Like that's not just this year. Like this has been for years now. Knowing that you guys are making good choices, and even with you living all the way in BC, as much as I hate that, I know that it is what you want to do, and it's for you to have that experience, and I don't have to worry about you out there. I know that you will always call if you need something, whether it's help or support or anything like that. And Bree, even though she's a bit closer, in Calgary, she's still like on her own and making her own choices and making all these big life changes and stuff, just like you and Cole traveling the world. And so anyhow, it is really great. It's definitely, a plus. And I was extremely, extremely lucky and fortunate. So I, take a little credit for that.
Yeah. I was going to say, well, I mean,
but I mean, you guys have strong personalities too.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like, it could have went so many different ways.
Yeah.
But I think just our family dynamic in a whole, I think the support that you have from your dad and that you have from me and from both of our sides of the family, and just the way we, surrounded you guys with that in every way, shape, and form that we could. Yeah. Created these two amazingly beautiful women. Very proud of you guys.
Thanks, Mama. And it's because of you. Sorry, I'm sniffling over here. We're like I said, we get emotional, so I can't help it. But I mean, Bree and I say this to you all the time, but Bree and I wouldn't be the women we are without the mother we had, without the father we have. I shouldn't say have both ways, and the family we have. And we learned a lot of lessons through you guys. We learned a lot of lessons from you guys. We were taught responsibility at a very young age. We were pushed to be responsible, to be successful, to know the value of, not only things, but family and money and just life in general. And I mean, that's why we turned out to be the women we are. Like, we are I don't mean to brag, but we are quite a success story, our family, with coming from teen parents, and Bree and I breaking the stigma of not repeating that cycle, because
makes me so happy.
Yeah, because there's a huge percentage. I don't know the statistic for sure, but it's like, I don't know, 80% of children of teen parents become teen parents themselves. And, that was Mom and Dad's wish from us was, graduate high school and don't become fucking pregnant. Well, graduate high school without a baby, pretty much.
And don't be that girl at the party.
Don't be that girl at the party.
When Krista went to her first drinking party, well, that we were aware of, and that she asked permission to go to. And, we even went and bought the alcohol for her. Yeah. And that was the thing Ryan said, is just don't be that girl. And Krista was like, what girl? Don't be that girl that gets all drunk and is crying. And I was like, oh yeah, don't be that girl.
Yeah, don't be that girl. So every time I went out after that, Kate, have a good time, be safe, make good choices, and don't be that girl. I wasn't that girl. I think I cried at one party.
It happens.
Yeah. You know what? I think I did cry at one party. Maybe two, but definitely there was a lot more girls that were that girl every time.
Right. There was always that girl that everyone knew would get emotional when she drank. And yeah, because she was always fighting with someone or always fighting with a boyfriend or whatever.
Yeah, or just, had the hardest life in the world.
Yeah.
At 15, 16, 17 years
exactly.
old. Everybody hates me. He doesn't love me. Again, just talking about teenage shit.
There you go, right?
Exactly. It's
it
just,
could be so worse.
Yeah, exactly. It's so crazy. But, I mean, yeah, I'm very grateful and blessed for our story. And I think our story is just something that it is really cool for people to hear and know. And hopefully, if there are people out there listening that can relate to this, hopefully you take something away from this episode of whether you're needing help in any of these scenarios. Because even though my mom had me at 15, she also knew there was other options,
Yeah,
and that's okay too.
exactly. It is a decision that you have to make, and you have to make sure that you can live with that decision, whatever it might be. So, let's just be, open about it. You
Yeah.
can have an abortion.
Yeah.
You can give your child up for adoption.
Yeah.
There are so many families, or I guess couples ready to be families
Yeah.
that can't be families. And then, there's keeping the baby and, becoming that parent. I do not think any of those choices is the wrong choice. I think the choice you decide is the choice for you, and it's the best choice that you can make.
100%.
And don't let anyone influence you differently. This is a choice that you have to make on your own, and just take everything into consideration, and all the factors and all the things.
Yeah.
From support to your feelings to commitment to, what you're ready to do.
I had a lot of people throughout my, whatever, I'm not going to say teen years, but just life in general, being like, what? Like, you would support somebody getting an abortion? Like, do you not realize if your mom had an abortion, like, you wouldn't be here? And it just always kind of makes me, laugh in a, shake my head way of that. Why would that make me judge somebody else for putting what's best for them and what they know is the right path to take?
Yeah.
I would never, ever, ever judge somebody for choosing any of those options, because it's your fucking life. It's like Mom said, it's something you have to live with for the rest of your life. So if it's not the time, if it's not right for you, then do what you have to do. If, going through the pregnancy and being like, I'm going to give this baby to a home that really needs a baby, that wants to be a family, and I know it can have the best life ever, then that's amazing too. Or
Yes.
I'm going to keep this baby, and that's amazing too. But everybody has their own personal choice. Nobody should feel judged. Nobody should feel pressured. Nothing like that, for making a choice that they feel is right for them. And that's just the bottom line of it. And I wanted to bring that up because you chose the route and path you chose, but also wanted to make it clear that just because you chose that doesn't mean that you expect a teenager who gets pregnant to do the same thing you did.
Exactly.
Right?
That I would support and be behind any decision a young adolescent or adult makes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm not anti-abortion. I'm not, nothing like that. I've been a supporter directly with people that have made that decision. They've decided, I can't do this. This isn't the time.
Yeah.
This isn't the person I want to have a baby with. This wasn't supposed to happen. This wasn't supposed to be. And it's like, okay, then you know what you need to do. That's okay. That's 100%. Totally okay. And I mean, I was there for people after I had Carissa, so that would never be something I would judge. I know a couple right now, they tried and tried and tried, even, through the clinics and stuff, to have a baby, and they can't. Now they're adopting. Yeah. So, I mean, that's an amazing thing, that if there are women or couples out there that are getting pregnant and they're not ready and it's not their time, and they make that choice, to give the baby up, that's great too, because there are so many people that can't have
100%.
But yeah, my strong message is if you choose to keep the baby, you just need to make that choice for yourself.
Yeah.
And you need to provide that baby the best life you can.
100%.
That, what breaks my heart most is to see someone make that choice for maybe the wrong reasons. Yes. They were pressured into it.
Yes.
And it doesn't go well, because who suffers? The baby will suffer.
Exactly.
So nobody wants to see that happen, and no one wants to go through that. So yeah, you just have to make sure you have to consider all your different avenues. You have to consider all your different feelings and thoughts on all of those. and figure out what's the best for you at this time. Lots of time in life to have a baby. Lots of time in life to find that person you want to settle down with and plan that baby. You know, my girls, they have so many friends in their circles that are, you know, they're planning to have a baby. They're trying to get pregnant. I'm like, oh, that's weird. That's different.
Yeah.
You know, my sister, she did as well, right? They planned and they, you know, worked to have a baby. And so I really think that's great. That's a really special thing to do in life and to expect in life and to plan for in life. So don't take that away from yourself.
Yeah, I think that is the best way to put it. And I think we're going to wrap it up there because I think we hit a lot of really good points. I think the listeners got to, you know us a bit more, know you especially a bit more, but also me too, because, you know, hearing a little bit of my life story and your life story, you know, is just like a more personal connection, right?
Yeah, definitely. Kind of hearing, you know, how you came about and, you know, yeah,
just how it was and just who you are, because I know a lot of people are probably excited to hear like about the woman that brought me into this world. And you know, I have goals to have like dad on here, and as much as I want to have my friends on here, which I have, another big goal of mine is to have family on here, and you know, just make it so the listeners feel like they're as connected to me as possible. And I think this was a good start into like my really personal side, right?
That's great. Yeah, I think so.
Mama, thank you so much for coming on the podcast
and
sharing your story. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot easier than I was expecting. It did flow really nicely, so it was great. And I just want to say to everybody, stay healthy, stay safe, and make good choices.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Something classic, something special.